Deep in the heart of the Alaskan wilderness, untouched and unforgiving, lay a sprawling expanse of towering pines and mist-shrouded valleys. This land, vast and mysterious, stretched as far as the eye could see, a testament to nature's raw power and beauty. It was a place of raw, untamed beauty, where the silence was broken only by the howl of the wind. The wind, a constant companion, whispered secrets of the forest, carrying tales of ancient trees and hidden creatures, and the distant cry of a hawk. The hawk, a solitary sentinel of the skies, soared above, its piercing call echoing through the misty wilderness, a reminder of the untamed spirit of this land. The air hung heavy with the scent of pine needles and damp earth, a constant reminder of the wildness that surrounded us. Each breath we took was filled with the essence of the forest, grounding us in the present moment, making us acutely aware of our surroundings. The sun, a pale disk in the endless blue, offered little warmth, its rays barely penetrating the dense canopy above. The interplay of light and shadow created an ethereal atmosphere, casting long, haunting shadows on the forest floor. We were a group of strangers, drawn together by chance or fate, embarking on what was supposed to be a thrilling expedition into this pristine wilderness. Each of us carried our own hopes and fears, united by a common desire to explore the unknown. Our guide, a seasoned outdoorsman named Jake, had assured us that it would be an experience of a lifetime. With his rugged demeanor and wealth of knowledge, Jake inspired confidence, making us believe we were in capable hands. Little did we know, it would be an experience that would haunt our waking nightmares. The forest, with its hidden dangers and unpredictable nature, would test our limits, pushing us to the brink and revealing the true essence of our characters. There was Emily, a high-powered CEO seeking refuge from the corporate jungle. John, a renowned photographer, hoped to capture the raw beauty of the Alaskan wilderness. And then there was me, Sarah, a writer searching for inspiration amidst the grandeur of nature. Each of us carried our own burdens, our own secrets, into the heart of this unforgiving wilderness. We were an unlikely group, thrown together by circumstance. But as we ventured deeper into the wilderness, a strange camaraderie began to form. We shared stories, laughter, and fears around the crackling campfire, the vastness of the wilderness drawing us closer together. We had no idea what awaited us in the shadows. The first sign that something was amiss came as a whisper in the wind. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it carried a weight that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The forest, usually a symphony of natural sounds, seemed to hush in response, as if holding its breath. It was a low, guttural sound, like the growl of a wild animal, distant yet distinct. The kind of sound that sends a shiver down your spine, making you question whether you should proceed or turn back. It echoed through the trees, reverberating off the trunks and creating an eerie resonance. Jake dismissed it as the call of a moose, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us, its unseen eyes following our every move. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig seemed amplified, as if the forest itself was alive and aware of our presence. The forest seemed to close in around us, the trees pressing closer, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to grasp us. The path we were on grew narrower, the underbrush thicker, making it harder to navigate. It felt as though the forest was trying to swallow us whole. As we continued our trek, the strange occurrences persisted. Shadows flitted at the edge of our vision, disappearing when we tried to focus on them. The air grew colder, and an unnatural silence settled over the woods, broken only by the occasional, inexplicable sounds. Footprints in the soft earth that seemed too large to belong to any known creature. They were deep, indicating a heavy weight, and their shape was unlike anything we had ever seen. Each step seemed to tell a story of something massive and ancient, something that didn't belong in our world. The distant sound of twigs snapping, as if something heavy was moving through the undergrowth, just beyond our sight. It was a sound that filled us with a primal fear, the kind that makes your heart race and your breath quicken. We strained our ears, trying to pinpoint the source, but it remained elusive. A pervasive sense of dread began to creep into our hearts, a chilling premonition that we were not alone in this wilderness. The feeling grew stronger with each passing moment, an invisible weight pressing down on us. We exchanged nervous glances, each of us silently acknowledging the unspoken truth. Something was out there, and it was watching us. Fear, like a venomous serpent, began to coil around our hearts, squeezing the laughter and lightheartedness from our group. The once comforting silence of the wilderness now pressed in on us, heavy with unspoken dread. Each rustle of leaves, each crackle of a twig underfoot, sent shivers down our spines. The forest, once a source of awe and wonder, had become a menacing labyrinth, hiding something sinister within its depths. We tried to rationalize our fears, to convince ourselves that it was just our imaginations running wild. But deep down, we knew that something was wrong, terribly wrong. The wilderness had teeth, and it was starting to bare them. Section 5, A Ghastly Discovery. The title alone sent shivers down our spines, hinting at the horrors that awaited us. Our worst fears were realized on the third day. The forest, which had seemed merely mysterious, now felt malevolent, as if it were hiding dark secrets within its depths. We stumbled upon a clearing, the remnants of a campsite scattered around a smoldering fire pit. The scene was eerily quiet, the silence only broken by the occasional crackle of the dying embers. A chill ran down my spine as I noticed the torn and bloodied scraps of fabric caught on the thorns, the unmistakable signs of a struggle. It was clear that whatever had happened here was violent and sudden. The air was thick with the metallic scent of blood, sending a wave of nausea through me. The fog seemed to cling to us, making it hard to breathe, as if the forest itself was trying to suffocate us. Panic surged through the group. We were seasoned hikers, but nothing had prepared us for this. The forest, once a place of adventure, had turned into a realm of terror. We called out for the missing hikers, our voices echoing emptily through the silent trees. Each shout seemed to be swallowed by the oppressive silence, amplifying our sense of isolation and dread. The only response was the mournful cry of a raven circling overhead, its black eyes gleaming with an unnervingly intelligent light. It felt as though the bird was watching us, understanding our plight. We were trapped in a nightmare, hunted by something as ancient and unforgiving as the wilderness itself. The forest had become a living entity, a predator that thrived on our fear and desperation. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent us into a frenzy as we realized that escape was not an option. We were at the mercy of the forest, and it showed none. Section 6. The Hunt Begins. The discovery of the ravaged campsite shattered any remaining illusion of safety. We were now prey, running for our lives in a game we didn't understand. The wilderness, once a place of serene beauty, had transformed into a hunting ground, the air thick with menace and the promise of violence. The first attack came at dusk, a blur of movement, a guttural snarl, and then John was dragged screaming into the undergrowth. His camera clattered to the ground, the lens staring up at the darkening sky like a lifeless eye. The last vestiges of our courage evaporated, replaced by raw, primal fear. We were no match for whatever lurked in the shadows. Section 7. Terror in the Moonlight. Nightfall brought no respite from the terror. We huddled together for warmth and a semblance of security, our eyes darting nervously at the shadows that danced and writhed at the edge of the firelight. The silence was shattered by the sounds of the hunt, the crashing of branches, the guttural growls, the blood-curdling screams that echoed through the trees. Each rustle of leaves, each snap of a twig sent our hearts racing. We were like cornered animals, our senses heightened, our bodies taut with terror. Sleep was an impossibility, replaced by a waking nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. Section 8. Nowhere left to run. Morning painted the sky with hues of blood and ash, a grim reflection of the carnage that had unfolded during the night. Emily was gone, her sleeping bag ripped open, her belongings scattered around the campsite. The only sign of her passage was a trail of blood leading into the dense undergrowth. Despair threatened to consume us. We were exhausted, terrified, and hopelessly lost. The wilderness had become our prison, its unseen walls closing in, trapping us with our pursuer. We were easy prey, our strength waning, our hope fading with each passing hour. Section 9. A Desperate Gamble. With each passing hour, our situation grew more dire. The wilderness seemed to press in on us, a suffocating blanket of fear and despair. Our supplies were dwindling, our bodies were failing, and still the relentless pursuit continued. We were like rats caught in a maze, running blindly, desperately seeking an escape that didn't exist. In a last desperate gamble, we decided to split up. It was a risky move, but we were out of options. We reasoned that if one of us could make it to higher ground, we might be able to signal for help. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot we had left. Section 10. Facing the unknown. I found myself alone, scrambling through the undergrowth, my lungs burning, my legs screaming for respite. The sounds of the hunt seemed closer now, the guttural growls echoing through the trees, urging me onward. Fear lent speed to my steps, but it also clouded my judgment. I stumbled into a clearing, my heart pounding against my ribs. And then I saw it. A towering figure shrouded in shadow, its eyes burning with an unnatural light. It was the embodiment of the wilderness itself, ancient and powerful, its presence radiating a raw, primal terror that froze me to my core. Section 11. A plea for help. The creature lunged, and everything went black. Did Sarah survive the attack? What is this entity hunting them in the Alaskan wilderness? Subscribe to this channel and like this video to stay tuned for the next terrifying chapter in Sarah's story.